Hello and welcome to DCP Live episode number 280, the Vow of the Disciple Raid Completion Discussion Episode Edition.
Yeah.
And Briar's ribs as well.
Woo!
Dude, delicious ribs.
Is that all I am to you? It's just a piece of meat?
Yes.
A beautiful, delicious, scrumptious piece of meat.
You know, in the pre-show we were talking about what cut of meat you were, or are, actually. Yeah. And I realized that immediately made me think of the Disneyland turkey legs. And then Jay, you pointed out that they might not actually be turkey. It's kind of blowing my mind. Is it really ham?
I think so. I'm not 100%, but that's all I keep hearing. Is that it's ham?
Man.
They're like this big.
Wow.
They're huge, yeah. I'm hoping that someone can clarify that by the end of this podcast. That'd be amazing. Yeah. Someone in chat.
I could be completely wrong. There's just giant turkeys running around.
Hey, you haven't seen the California
Purdue
turkey.
Tech is next level.
Yeah, Purdue
Disney's on some crack, man. I swear.
Them GMO turkeys.
You see the creepy village they made, right? That's pretty creepy.
Wait, which village?
Was it
the
Disneyland?
one where kinda? Yeah, they made like a little village or town
like
for people to. Yeah, inside of Disneyland. So if you were like big fan of Disney, you could move into this
live
town.
there.
Yeah,
you could live at Disneyland. How much does that
they
cost?
Control everything. It's very creepy.
Yeah. Well,
it's the first
It's very
this.
creepy.
It is very creepy.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Wow.
Didn't it failed, right? Or like everyone came out and was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done. This
Yeah.
is a weird town.
People were like, meh.
Now you
I
can
don't
spend
know if I want to be here.
boatload of money on a
Imagine
cruise.
being
that's
surrounded
Star Wars.
24 hours a day by people who are solely focused. They've based their identity to the point where they move to Disney World around Disney.
Yeah. Have you seen Disney vloggers? They are in it, man. They're doing it. They're hitting it every day. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Miss
day.
that flavor of internet.
They are dedicated.
I feel like it would be like the Truman Show. You'd feel like you were inside of I'm getting recorded. Why is everybody so nice to me? Stop it.
And they have tasteful Disney decorations, like there'll be a Mickey in the ceiling.
Oh, so there's no like nude Snow White around?
Tasteful nudes. Tasteful nudes.
Tasteful.
And all of a sudden you look up and there's Mickey just staring at you.
Yeah, just staring down at you through a mirror.
Oh my
Keep
gosh.
going.
Should we introduce JSniperton?
Yeah, Jay, welcome back, man.
He's here.
Well, welcome.
You might know him. He's with Briar a lot,
Yeah, welcome
That's
back
right.
to the other podcast.
I like meat.
Yeah, we're podcast adjacent.
Yes, we're podcast family members.
Yeah, we obviously got to do the raid together, which was awesome, except for Briar because he's an old man. But how's things been, Jay?
Good. I mean, like you guys, just like talking about the meat.
Yeah.
You were talking about how tired you were after the raid, and I definitely have been feeling that. Just the recovery time as you get older. Almost 7 years on Twitch, we've all been around for a minute, and just the recovery after these day one weekend raids is vast.
It really is.
Yeah, it's a lot to put your body through, man. It's a lot. Yeah. My son completed the raid at 7:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, and it basically flip-flopped his sleep schedule. So he's now sleeping during the day and up all night. Like it completely flip-flopped it.
Yeah, it can really mess up your sleep schedule.
Yeah.
We just did 14 hours, and I'm still like,
I'm still definitely feeling it.
Yeah.
And I was surprised because I was feeling pretty good after the initial day of the day one raid. But man, no, I'm definitely tired. I'm definitely tired. Every time I get up to get ready to do anything, I'm like, I think I need a nap.
Yeah. You think you
Brush
recovered.
my teeth. I need a nap.
Yeah, you think you recovered, and then like a day later, you're like, wait, why am I? Oh, because I'm still recovering. All right. Yeah. That's what's going on.
Yeah, it's interesting how much of a change it does to your body, how much it affects you.
Yeah. And we'll get to more of that because, discussions about 48 hours versus 24 hours and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
True.
So, Briar, I'm assuming you've seen most of it then, right?
Yeah, I've seen all of it. Yeah, I watched you guys do it. I watched my son do it. He was streaming it as well. And I didn't watch, obviously, 24 hours of it. But I tuned in,
Yeah.
I got the gist before I went to dinner.
Got to see the frustration. Yeah.
Yeah. Very
yeah,
cool.
the frustration was pretty high. You guys were keeping your cool pretty good. But I noticed other people were getting pretty frustrated about the errors and the issues going on.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should probably
can
get
dive
that
into
stuff like out of the way first because, aside from the visual splendor and awesomeness of Bungie raids, this one was definitely plagued with a lot of issues. Right?
Yeah, it was like Crota was back.
I think it's worse, way worse, especially because there's like a raid race, and like people are essentially getting progress and then completely reset, and then progress again, and then completely reset. Like that sucks. Obviously,
Yeah, it was unfortunate where the checkpoints were too.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't quite make it to checkpoint.
It's like Witch Queen launched with less issues than the raid did.
Yeah.
And I guess, with Witch Queen, they could monitor how many people were playing and use queues and stuff. But when you have a raid, you just open the doors,
right?
And everybody jumps in.
Yeah.
But I do think
what specifically were the issues?
Well, our first encounter, essentially, when we got to the end of the encounter, we were getting kicked to orbit, and a lot of people had that.
Yeah.
And it meant you had to do the first encounter is not hard, it's just a little bit lengthy. So like the sort of introduction to the raid was just sort of getting your team building, get everyone, in the right mode. It wasn't hard in any way, but when you got kicked at the end, you had to redo the whole thing. And I think it happened, three times to us?
I feel like
three times
just
for
twice.
Anteater? Yeah, I think it was about 3.
Yeah. Also, like we got to the end, and it's like the go and explore to find the next area. You don't get your checkpoint until you've officially hit the rally banner for the darkness zone for the next encounter. So that's why it makes it really tough. And like I died in an area, and then it was like I can't find a place for you to respawn. Then all of a sudden, boop, everybody is kicked to orbit. And I was like, oh, that sucks. Then we had all these harebrained ideas about no sparrows, no artifact mods, no. And Fran wasn't buying any of it. He was like, nope, don't believe a bit.
Which he's probably right, to be honest. He was probably very right.
Yeah.
It was just the servers were overloaded.
Yeah.
And so seeing as we're kind of talking about this, it might be a good time to bring this up. But in the TWAB, they have some numbers for Vow of Disciple.
Oh, yeah.
So the total players that entered the raid was 546,000.
500,000.
Now this is just during
this
is just during the 48 hours.
That's pretty crazy.
Is that unique players?
I'm assuming.
Maybe because
right?
they specify unique players that cleared the full raid, which was 32,600. But yeah, I would assume it was unique players.
That's just entering, so it could
Yeah.
just be somebody jumping in and exploring the first area, then bouncing too.
Could be, yeah.
Still, that's a lot of people.
That's a
There's
lot of
people.
Yeah, I wonder how that compares to the other raids for the first 48 hours, 24 hours.
Yeah, I would love to see some stats with the other raids, see what it compared to.
The only thing they said is that it's more people than they've had before, which I think was kind of obvious. But yeah, I would have loved to know what the stats were before. That's a ton of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, with the easy leveling this time around, or the faster leveling this time around, with it dropping on a Saturday, with it being a week and a half after launch, like it just was a good situation for jumping in day one.
Campaign, you were like basically at level after that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And there was a lot of hype around Witch Queen compared to other expansions because it was a hive god, It was even like D1 players or people returning were like, hey, what? Oryx's sister or something like that? Like it was an easy sell as well.
People are already saying that it's the best expansion they've ever come out with, like ever.
Easy.
Which,
easily
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavy hitter.
Yeah,
definitely.
Back to the bugs though. Because the second encounter was it? No, the caretaker. There was a pretty terrible bug on that as well, where I was a few bugs. One that we benefited from.
There was a couple in the caretaker. One that was kind of nice.
There was this end bug that would happen where people would beat the caretaker, and then it'd be like, oh, all right, it shows death, and then all of a sudden they get wiped, and it's back to square one again, so it wouldn't count. They'd have to do caretaker again. And if you played it with contest mode, you were definitely like struggling with ammo economy and trying to have DPS. So to get it to that point, beat the caretaker, and then have it like say, how about again? You know, that one didn't count. Let's
you
do
like
another.
playing video games? Play this one more.
It was rough. Like I swear I got more ammo on caretaker without the ammo finder mods. As soon as I put ammo finder mods on like my helmet and my chest and my legs and stuff, no ammo, 0 ammo.
Yeah, it was bizarre, right?
I did notice, Watts, as ad clear, we got a lot more ammo drops than the people going in to do symbols. Now that I'm doing symbols, I'm like, there's nothing out here for me.
Yeah, I was constantly giving excuses for why my DPS, even though my DPS would have been bad. But I'm like, guys, please, it's not me. I've got no ammo.
Yeah, I heard teams were like letting some of the ads get to the middle. So then when the symbol people came out, they had something to kill and maybe get some ammo.
Yeah,
I didn't realize this, but people were using. I forget about the second part of Aeons, right? It doesn't need to be champions. I think you can get special ammo off the yellow bars, and they were. That's how they got their ammo back. They were doing finishes, people outside, and spawning special ammo. So
for everybody,
for everybody, and
that was
so like the
special, no heavy.
That was a key part, I think, for. It's just dealing with the ammo economy on that one. Or do what you said, letting them come up so the people in the middle could just get bullets onto ads and get something to drop.
So for us, our particular kill, we had a bug where in the second floor, as what's his name, the caretaker was getting stunned, it would glitch and then be perma-stunned for an entire damage phase, or actually an entire bar of health. Not even damage phase, because like it was just, let's just use primary ammo.
The third.
Yeah, and that was pretty wild to have that happen several times, because we had like, I think it happened twice actually, and then we were struggling, and then it finally happened again. We're like, this is the run, guys. I've got 5 rockets. We got this.
You just primary him down. You just primary him down and don't use any of your ammo. It takes a long time, but
but it's how
you do it.
I also have a confession, and I think Watts already knows this, but I don't know if Jay and Tef know this.
What?
So I think I might have even been the one to bring it up, which was don't use grenades with weaken on them.
Oh, you did tell me this.
Because it will override the tethers and the other buffs. And it was not until we had completed it and the raid was done and I went back to Akora to get some additional fragments that I opened up my screen and realized I was running weakness on my grenades, and I was definitely throwing grenades at
I was like, are you throwing them at the boss?
Yep.
Amazing.
So sorry about that.
That might have been where half or a good portion of DPS was going.
Yeah, because I was like, sometimes I'm hitting really hard, and other times I'm not. What's going on here? It was me.
Oh man,
it's awesome.
That's silly. Yeah.
We still got there.
I don't know what else. I'm sure there was other like massive bugs that showed up, but it definitely was a buggy raid.
Yeah, the disconnects were rough because, like you said, the beginning section is actually kind of long to get to the point where you have a checkpoint, because it's not even getting through the beginning part. You have to go through the exploration part inside and then get to the next encounter, which is actually quite a while. So if you got anteatered, which many people did, you had to do all of that again, and it's not short. Imagine Crown of Sorrows, doing the opening part of Crown of Sorrows over and over again and not getting a checkpoint. It might even be longer. I don't know. It's really long. It's a long portion of the raid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bugs on the final encounter as well, on the boss.
Oh, really?
Desync and stuff, and like the longer you stay in there, it seems like the worse it gets. Like it looks like he's shooting in one direction, but then and it's just all sorts of nonsense. Yeah.
Oh, I saw that a little bit after contest mode was over. We ran the raid Monday night, and he was like the person who was trying to get the beam to be able to dunk the stuff. Yeah, it was like, I'm standing directly in it, and it's not giving it to me. So there was some of that still going on. I'm sure it is still going on where he's not shooting where it looks like he's shooting.
It's a shame because I mean, like that being said, the aesthetics of the raid is outstanding and such a cool raid. I definitely enjoyed the mechanics, which is sort of what I expected because of how strong Void is and how easy it is to just chain blow up everything that comes towards you. So, it did have you juggling a lot of mechanics a lot of the time and spreading the workload a lot across your entire team as well.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
Yeah.
Mylan, would you say that you love this raid?
Are you bringing up me video again?
Is that a hard light reference?
I love this raid. Hard light. I love the raid. It was a good raid.
Maybe.
A lot of symbols, which ended up being like
tons of symbols.
Which ended up being a prophecy. I don't know if you guys saw that in the end.
I did see. I saw because I watched all of Mylene's videos.
I didn't see it yet.
And the Twitters.
Well, okay, Def, you'll remember this. Do you remember between one of the
Elmo?
encounters there was that
Elmo
wall? Yeah, Elmo, Stabby, Love.
Elmo Love.
There was
Elmo loves Stabby.
Yeah. There was a wall and it had all the blank symbols on it.
Yes.
Oh, there was no symbols. And we're just gonna ignore that, right? Remember saying that? We're just gonna hope this is not part of the encounter. We're just gonna walk past it. Well, it turns out that you have a chance of a symbol turning up on that wall every time you play the raid.
Oh.
And if you crowdsource it, and the reason why Bungie gave official names is it tells a story. So it reads. I can find the reading for you.
So no Elmo. No Elmo for the
in our
official lore
hearts.
rating.
In our hearts, it'll be.
I will always use Elmo. You can't stop me.
Yeah. But the thing is, we don't know what the last symbol is, essentially. So it stops short. So if you put everything together and you use Bungie's callouts, it reads Hive Scorn, Love Darkness, Worship Witness, Pyramid Fleet Enter Earth, Stop Guardian, Witness Commune Traveler, Drink Light, Witness Kill, blank.
Huh.
And it's like, what's a game show where you got to get the letters? So like if Witness...
Wheel of Fortune. Yeah,
it's like that. So if Witness is on the board, you get both witnesses. So what it means is everything that's on the board can't be the last symbol. So you got to fill in the symbols that are not there are potential options. So it could be kill Traveler, kill kill. I can't remember. I haven't written all the other ones down. Kill Saphir, whatever. The things that are not listed on the official symbols could be the last thing. Witness, kill, what it is.
Wait, was Traveler already used?
No,
I think so.
Oh, no, sorry, it is.
I thought it was already used. Yeah, because that was
kill Earth, kill Light, kill.
Earth is there.
Earth was used. Yeah, Saphir would make sense.
Do you think that they will add that last symbol in, or do you think they'll just let it be a mystery?
I don't know. I don't know when they're going to add that last one in. Not too sure.
I feel like
maybe Master?
Kill Tower.
Kill
Tower.
Master out?
No.
I think it'll be a while before we see Master because it's going to be a lot higher level.
Sure, yeah.
It's like Grandmasters, basically.
Yep.
Kill Elmo.
Okay.
Kill Elmo.
Let me just throw this out there. Let me just throw this out there. I feel like Saphir would make a lot of sense because Saphir has the ability to hide the Traveler, and obviously the Ghost is still around, so there's a possibility of resurrection for Saphir. So if the Witness tries to kill Saphir to prevent this, this vanishing of the Traveler, and then can't go through with its perfection of the final shape because it needs the light as well, then that's the thing standing in the way, right?
It's all up in the air now.
It is indeed.
Don't know. Which is cool because that's a nice little Easter egg in the raid.
That's really cool, yeah.
Prophecy.
Super cool.
The thing that we're like, let's ignore this. Turns out it's important.
Does it unlock anything else, or is it purely just lore on there?
Unknown at this stage.
Unknown,
I mean, the thing is, you only have a chance of getting 1 to 2 symbols every time you run the raid. So, I imagine it's just a cheeky Easter egg.
Love it. Love cheeky Easter eggs.
Love that.
Yeah.
15th wish.
Yeah.
Have you gone back through and gotten some of that lore from that room that we saw that had the like 3 rows of symbols with all the little like freestanding symbols above it? There's
I went back. Oh,
there's lore coming out from that. There's 10 different ones that you can get doing, and you can get them in successive raids in 1 week.
oh, sorry. You mean that? Yeah, the law book. That room before the one with the big Leviathan bone in it. The big and there's
In the beginning,
It looks like a wall of wishes, and you got to input a code. That one, that unlocks the 5 last entries of the raid lore book, which gives you the origin story of Rolk. Yeah.
And
Really
the
cool.
origin story. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The lore from just the raid, let alone Witch Queen, is crazy.
Can we get a recap?
Mind blowing.
Can we get a recap on
He's
the
like,
origin
give me a
story?
TLDR, please. Thanks.
Is that,
Yep.
is
All
that
right.
possible?
Yes.
I can definitely give you lore stories on Rolk if you like.
Tell us a story.
So, firstly, if you want to unlock it for yourself, you get a post-raid mission that actually takes you into the raid, and it takes you up until essentially the bone room with the big giant bone in it, and there's 5 scannables that unlock the first 5 entries, and then the last 5 entries are unlocked in the room prior, and there's like a little wall with symbols, and you got to find the symbols, and you got to I think it's like punch, shoot, interact or something. Like certain symbols you got to do certain things on, and every time you do that you get a lore entry, and that gives you the 10 lore entries. If you read the 10 lore entries, you get essentially 3 different narrative arcs for Rolk, and you can combine that with the raid lore armor. And one arc is an origin story, one arc is interaction with the worms, and the last arc is the Saphir arc, which is why Rolk's in the pyramid ship. Starting
Spin is a story, my friend.
It is a story.
Get your hot cocos in your mouth.
Rolk. Here we go. Rolk's origin story. Right. So, revealed that Rolk lived on a planet with 2 suns, and you can see, if you look at the mosaic, you see the entire like history of Rolk on this mosaic. So there's that wall of the mosaics, and it's actually got 2 suns. There's a blue sun and like a pinkish looking sun, which is referred to as the umbral sun. And it says that Rolk's species, I don't think it really names their species. They don't have like a name they use. They were all wanderers at some point, and the Traveler arrived. And they actually had their own golden age. And with the power and technology that Traveler came, it sort of made this division in class. And there were a couple of bad apples, I guess, that took a lot of that power. And they ended up being called the Regime. And Rolk's sort of like clan, they rebelled and, you know, tried to have like an uprising. And they ended up fleeing this city that was created. And so when you look at the mosaic, there's like a light side and a dark side, and the light side's where the city is on Lubrae, and the dark side is like Rolk's clan sort of fighting against the planet. There's all these dangers that are described, you know. It's very similar to the Proto Hive, where they're sort of the bottom of the food chain, and they're just sort of trying to survive. They're like running from cave to cave, you know, moving locations each time, and the people in the city, the Regime, also hunt them down, essentially. And eventually they have an encounter with the Regime, attacks like Rolk and his parents and his family. And Rolk just goes a bit nuts and kills everyone, like kills all these hunters that come after them. And he picks up their glaive, which is meant to be a weapon of the Regime.
Real quick, at this point, would Rolk technically be a guardian of light because the Traveler came?
There were no mentions of like ghosts or other ways of being empowered. It just sort of, the book is written in a really tricky way, and it's very interpretive. They definitely got some technology from the Traveler and had like a golden age. And there is one piece of technology that becomes important called a Saphir Converter, which takes the energy from the blue sun and does something with it. It's almost like solar power, but it's used later for quite destructive purposes. So we don't quite know exactly how it functions. But we just know that they got certain tech from the Traveler, and most of it was kept in the city of Lubrae, and that's what protected them from when the umbral sun comes up. So they sort of describe how the blue sun gives light and the umbral sun comes up, and a lot of dangers come with it. And there was safety in the city that was held by the regime, but there was not much safety outside of that. And so everyone else was sort of struggling to survive, including Rolk. And so when they came to hunt him down, they fought back, and Rolk ended up straight up defending himself against the regime, including picking up their like weapon, which was a glaive. The thing was, he was sort of enjoyed it too much. He was sort of too good at it, and it scared like his family and like family members. So a little bit like crossing the line between defense and like enjoyment. And then they sort of describe him as a bit of a psychopath. Like he ends up killing, it's just a T for teen, by the way, killing like, killing the pets of like children in their clan. And like, you know, it's just like serial killer vibes, you know, like no empathy, no sympathy, like this pet's nothing, like pulling its skin off and crazy shit like that.
Jesus.
Right? I know. It's a bit messed up. So his own clan's a bit like, yeah, you defended us, but you're a bit
a psychopath.
You're a bit too much, my friend.
Right?
You might enjoy that a little too much.
You enjoyed that a little bit too much, sort of deal. And during the attack, even though Rolk was able to defend them, his father got kidnapped. So he's like, fine. He leaves his clan. I'll go bring the father back. So he's out on his own. He finds his father, and his father's like, has joined the regime, is wearing the clothes of the regime. So Rolk feels like his father's betrayed him, and his father was, this is another interesting thing. You know Dexter?
Yes.
When they take Dex, he's got like these killing potential.
He's killing bad people, maybe.
Yeah, and they like wield him sort of like
for bad people.
Yeah, they sort of wield him in a like try to mold him into a good way. There's also the implication of like this DNA and genetics is passed down, like this psychopathness is like genetically passed on. So Rolk talks about his dad had the same tendencies, and so they sort of had this connection. And so Rolk feels very betrayed because now he's like truly alone because now his dad's joined the regime. It gets complicated because the dad, it's implied that the dad didn't really betray them and was doing like a double cross, and he pretended to join the regime to like save his own clan. But Rolk's caught up in the betrayal that he's like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, you're done. You're dead to me. And then Rolk ends up joining. It's so confusing. Then Rolk ends up joining the regime because the regime embrace his like murderousness.
They like murderers in the regime.
Like, you're all right with that murder
The dark
technique.
side,
All
you could
right.
say.
Yeah. And Rolk's like, well, the regime doesn't lie to me. At least they're honest about it. And they give his glaive back to him.
They're mad
then
lads,
Rolk's
but at
like-
least they're honest about being bad lads. You're just pretending to be a nice lad.
So then Rolk's like, okay, now I've got to kill my father. So his father then turns tail and leaves the regime again and goes back to the Wanderers. So then Rolk's out on this like murderous spree trying to track down his father to kill him. And in the middle of this, there's this thing described as the Abyss that is around the city in Lubrae. And no one's ever been down there because it looks like it's never ending. It's this giant crack in the planet. And Rolk falls down there while he's trying to track down his father. And this is where he becomes broken. And the Witness meets him there and gives him powers of the darkness, essentially.
The Witness was chilling there in the crack?
It's sort of like this idea that the Witness is looking for disciples and preys upon, very similar to how Savathun and the Hive, or the Savathun was meant to be a disciple, right? Like these people that
relies on trickery,
lose everything, they're broken down, and they're rebuilt as a disciple, essentially. So, however the Witness discovered that, I don't think the Witness was there. I think it was the Witness is drawn to these people that have potential somehow, these species or these races that have potential to do this kind of stuff. and essentially like reborn in the darkness, reborn with the darkness, mends the glaive with darkness powers of some sort, and then Rolk, like Batman, climbs out of the abyss using his glaive essentially to like lever himself up, and goes on to just essentially murder everyone, kills his family, kills his mum, kills his dad, decapitates his dad.
Decapitates his dad. Casual decapitation.
Yep.
Eats him like a rack of ribs, like Briar.
Hey, whoa.
Maybe his family was tasty.
Tasty.
Little witness seasoning.
Then the technology I mentioned before, the Saphir Converter, it's not very clear. He says like he reverses it and he blows up the blue moon, which was, necessary for the planet to continue. And so essentially destroys Lubrae.
On purpose? He blew up the blue.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, on purpose. Yeah. And that's why it's called Lubrae's Ruin, because of its ties to
fascinating.
Rolk, and he destroyed the planet. So yeah, long story short, he
went crazy.
He killed everyone.
He likes murdering
the planet. Yeah.
And Witness was like, you seem like a broken man who likes murder, want to be a disciple. And he's like, sure, blow planet. Woo.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yep.
So the glaive.
And he becomes a disciple. Yeah.
So the glaive, that was a Golden Age tech relic for when the Traveler was there at the planet.
It was a weapon of the regime. I don't know exactly if the regime had it prior to the Traveler's arrival or if it was a weapon created after the Traveler arrived. I'm not too sure.
Because I think it'd be interesting to know whether or not like this is an item of the Traveler or was inspired by the Traveler and then has been imbued by the darkness from the Witness, and then like this strange halvesies, relic that's causing havoc. How many other relics like that are out there? That the Traveler may have been spitting,
There's some cool lore. So on the mosaic, there's a glaive that passes through the blue sun, which I originally thought was Lubrae's Ruin, which I thought was his glaive, because that would make sense because, he claws out of the abyss and he destroys the blue sun. So it's sort of symbolic of destroying the blue sun and how the glaive is linked to that whole story. In the artwork that Bungie just released, they did a big thing on ArtStation. You can actually see the concept art and there's a description. And it's, in the boss room, there's a glaive in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the concept art. And the description is, this is Rolk's father's glaive. And that's what's on the mosaic. The big glaive. And it says that every time that Rolk materializes a glaive, he's like returning it from a memory. And I guess the implication is it's like a memory of his father, which is ironic, right? It's like you kill the people you love sort of deal, like that kind of I love you so much I have to kill you sort of thing going on, where his father was an inspiration and the only person he could relate to, and then he got betrayed, then he killed his father kind of deal, but then he still has a memory of his father in his like throne area, so to speak. It's complicated. Anyway, that's origins. That's one.
Sociopathic.
That's one.
Sociopathic.
There's a lot of lore.
So I don't know if I'm going on too much, but I can
try to find it highly fascinating. Yeah.
What I caught was Rolk's dad is much more well endowed than Rolk is, and he's pissed about it.
Yeah, that's
a much
correct.
Bigger glaive. Yeah.
It's a bigger glaive.
It's a big glaive.
It's a big glaive. So the second sort of arc is like massively changes the foundation and understanding of the hive, like big time. And this is the room you walk into with the big bone at the top,
which I've heard is not a rib bone, according to Dr. Mylan.
Wouldn't Briar be the expert on that one?
Yeah,
he's the expert of bones and ribs and stuff.
It is the rib bone of the Leviathan, which trapped the worm gods on the planet the Fundament. And how it got there is Rolk, on his quest to find other disciples for the Witness, straight up Mortal Kombated the Leviathan. Like, punched his hand in a Leviathan, and pulled out a rib.
Yeah.
Huh.
Let's get that.
This is
Fire likes this guy.
like, hold on, I can get a prop. This is like Rolk is his size. So you need to imagine Rolk is literally just handling that rib like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the Leviathan, which is the size of a continent, it can't even make eye contact with Rolk because he's so powerful. And Rolk, with the rib, pretend this is a rib, giant rib. Rolk puts the rib underneath the Leviathan's chin and lifts it, and his basically says, "Look at me." Like,
What
these
a
do not.
madman.
Absolute madman. Like, goes, these worms do not belong to you. They belong to the witness, or something like that. Okay.
Wow.
And so he goes down, and it's revealed that there is another worm god that we have never heard about, and that is the mummy worm, Zeta.
Mama.
And that is who you see in the raid. That big worm is not any of the gods that we know. That is mummy worm, Zeta. And essentially, Rolk says, you want me to save your children? You're going to go into servitude for the witness, and we'll work out a way to save your children. Zol, Ir, Ar, Aka, Yul. And Zeta, being mummy worm, agrees. They then,
Very sad.
Zeta and Rolk create worm larvae. So the worm larvae never existed before this time. So they create the worm larvae itself and introduce it
What
to
came
the planet.
first, the worm or the larva?
The worm.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
The worm.
At this
The
point,
The
worm.
worm. Now we know.
Zeta.
Yeah. Yep. They introduce it. So they even talk about the white worm that's planted on the fundament. So Rolk's sort of part of the bargain was to help save the worm gods. So they created the worm larvae and knew that, and this is how it links in the campaign, they gave the worm larvae on the fundament because they knew that all these species were on the fundament. And if they could find the worm larvae, they would eventually form a bond with the worm gods. And of course, Savathun was one of them to find a worm larvae, who the witness then talks through the larvae and goes, you should dive deep, made up the whole thing about the cataclysm, which provided pressure to go down, go past the Leviathan, find the worm gods. And so when that happened, they got powerful, and the children of Zeta, Zal, Ir, Aka, Ol, whatever, they escaped, right? And so, yeah, it essentially says that the worm larvae never existed until Rolk, took worm mummy, Zeta, and created worm larvae to reintroduce it back to the fundament.
So, question. Yeah.
Wow.
How powerful were the worm gods then? If they, we call them worm gods, but is it because they were imbued with darkness from the witness? Is why they got super powerful?
It's unclear. It mentions that they had power, but Rolk understood their weakness, which is they needed sustenance. So Rolk knew that they could be tremendously powerful, but they needed like a host. So and that's sort of all that's really said. You sort of, if you fill in the blanks, you sort of assume, considering they were imprisoned on the fundament, that they were powerful and menacing and probably not conducive to the light, but not necessarily agents of the darkness yet. So it's sort of like, the Traveler and the Leviathan predicted that, hey, these guys are probably going to be bad dudes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll lock them up, even though they hadn't really made any alliance with the darkness. That's my impression anyway.
Fascinating.
From that. So that is the cool thing is, Rolk is called Worm Father by the worm launcher. So after the raids, if you have Worm Daddy. If you have Worm Launcher out, you can get a piece of dialogue in the Throne World, and Wormy talks to you and is like, you killed Worm Father. So that sort of just ties that all together. Worm Mother is Zeta and Worm Father is Rolk.
Yeah, and they have a family reunion where you take the launcher to look at his mom's and Ghost is like, hey, here's a little family reunion, do your thing, and he's like, mother, whatever he says, basically that.
Yeah. Pain.
Mother pain.
So yeah, exactly. So after the raid, with the 5 scannables that the post raid sort of campaign mission, you can do it once and you get a certain set of like in-game scannable lore. If you take the worm launcher in, the view that overlooks Zeta and the upending, which is the upender, which is that pyramid looking thingy, that like object with the orange like glow, you get a different dialogue option, and it's like a family reunion between the worm and Zeta.
Huh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So Zeta is still active then? Like we didn't kill Zeta.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, so this is like the last arc, which is the Saphir arc.
Okay.
Which is like, why was Rolk in the pyramid ship, right?
In Saphir's throne world.
In Saphir's throne world. What it confirms is the Witness placed Rolk there to watch over Saphir and to train her and monitor her as another disciple.
In her throne world.
In her throne world.
Okay.
And Rolk was jealous because if you think about it, she was only powerful because he created the worm larvae. Like he essentially gave that power to her. So he was actually quite jealous of the Witness's interest in Saphir. He's like, bro, this power came from me, essentially. I made the worm larvae, which made them the pact with the worm gods, which gave Saphir this power. She ain't that good. But he was ordered to continue to watch and to monitor her. Of course, Saphir worked out that, you know, she was destined to be a servant to the Witness, and Saphir doesn't answer to anyone. So when she got the light, she basically cleansed her throne world and trapped the Witness in there using the light somehow.
So Saphir the good guy?
This is how I think Saphir's going to come back in some way. This is probably the significance of having Saphir, is that she's trapped a disciple in a throne world before using the light.
Yeah.
That would make sense then why the Traveler has kind of chosen her, right?
Yeah. She's got the skills.
She has a purpose.
To protect her.
Yeah.
And that's why you get the post-raid cutscene that's like Saphir was holding back this force because technically she had imprisoned a disciple of the Witness.
And along came the arrogant guardians, messing things up.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. And the Rolk also has that device. So your question about is the worm still alive? It's unclear. So you see the worm, right? And its mouth is open and it goes into the final battle stage, whatever you want to call that, like cubey, rectangular, triangular thing, right? And it gets more powerful as you go through. It glows more. There is one reference to it. It's called there's actually multiple references to it, but not much description of what it does. I think it's called, I always get it wrong. It's either the upender or the upended. Is it called the upended, chat? Upending? I think it's the upender.
I think it's an upender.
Upender.
Based on the meme and the twab. That's what I'm going to go with.
True. Meme and the twab. Yep. And it, or was it upended? That was better. Upended. Upended.
God
okay.
damn it. Upender. Oy.
Nobody knows.
We're up in the ending of something. All right.
Anyway, it's like a planet destroyer of some sort. And it upends planets. There is one paragraph that says that it's powered by worm mummy, Zeta. So I always thought it was going down into the worm body, but from this paragraph, it seems like Rolk, was powering his world-ending device using worm mummy. Yeah.
The worm gun.
And interestingly, if you go to look at the ArtStation art, like about Rolk, you pick up on things that I didn't quite notice. Like, you know how he comes out of the cocoon? So he's like somehow connected to everything. Like they're meant to be nerves connecting him to the upender, and which then obviously connects to the worm. So that power is like transferring to him. They're all sort of in this darkness connection kind of deal, which is also why when you kill the enemies, they get those trees that come out of them. I believe they're like darkness veins that like split out of them to sort of reach out to a new host almost. And and everything on the pyramid chip is all sort of connected through this darkness neuron network.
Wow.
So who controls the neuron network, Rolk?
Well, I think that's why when you kill Rolk, the control center, the lights go out of the upended, right? So when you go into the post-campaign mission, it's not like glowing red anymore. It's just like, it's all like smoky and faded.
True. Yeah, it is. Wow.
So the question then with Zeta is that it might have been mummified at some point and just constantly spewing energy, and then without Rolk, it might just, lay waste.
Yeah, I feel like Zeta was they were, I don't know, if you held it's a bit like the experiments going in Season of Risen, almost like in a stasis, but you're like drawing power from it. That's the impression I get, is like Zeta's in like comatose, drawing power from Mummy Worm, but she can't really do anything.
Yeah.
Because they sort of talk about how they made the larvae like cutting pieces off her and stuff like that. It's very sort of like experimental kind of stuff.
So weird.
Is that what the stuff is?
That's so
Like
sad.
up in the whatever that looked like potato slices to me.
Yeah. I haven't really, I mean, that's the other part is Rolk was doing experimentation with the worms, which is also in the post raid, and Caretaker, good boy, he's actually suspected to be a successful experiment with pulling the worms into the Scorn.
Yeah, because he looks like Scorn, right? But also kind of like an ogre.
Yeah.
It's like a mixture.
Yeah. So that's why I think you see all the worms in the like a museum kind of thing, is to reinforce this idea of Rolk experimenting with placing the worms into other beings. Including Scorn.
So fascinating.
It is. It's
Dude,
crazy.
It's a massive lore
I feel
dump.
I feel like it's taken Destiny lore from being, it's just gone to the next level of sci-fi, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where anything's possible.
And it's definitely expanded beyond like our locale of where we've been for so long in Destiny, and now it's like it's really feeling like galactic. Like there's lots of different worlds, right?
It's made the Hive so much more interesting as well.
Yeah.
Whereas they were just evil, right? Now there's so much to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're kind of born.
When they were tricked, I feel kind of bad for them because they were, Mama Worm is like, yeah, I can help you and the babies get in the car, and then it's like, I'm just gonna put you in front of this experiment and chop pieces off of you and do all of this stuff, and then also Savathun was lied to. Like, it's just so much deception for the Hive. It's kind of sad. I feel bad for them.
And the cool thing is, like, this idea of the universe expanding, they essentially confirmed that in the ARG got solved too from the Collector's Edition lore book. So I don't know if people are across that, but essentially, if you got the Collector's Edition lore book, you could log on to Bungie and there was something you did, and you've like shredded pieces of paper, you got like a strip digitally of a piece of paper, and everyone had to submit their digital shredded papers for Destiny raid secrets to put it together. And it released, when they finished that, it was like 30 plus pages of new lore. And this is where this idea of the parent universe got introduced.
Oh my goodness.
One like theory is that that's our universe and we're the parent universe, and this would make sense because of Days of Eternity and the game show, and all the quotes that come from our universe in the game. So this idea that Destiny is like we're in the same
interconnected
things can cross over, essentially.
Right.
Yeah. Other cool idea is it also opens the door for Bungie to get out of our soul system and just to go full fantasy sci-fi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was wondering.
And I feel like that's where Rolk's going almost, right? That's cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jay.
No, it's okay. I was wondering after the story, like when you finish it, you're like, where do they go from here? Because it just felt like we've been on this linear path of story for so long. It's like such controls such, and then just building up and up and up. Crota, King's Fall, all that stuff, just almost like a linear story. And when you finish this, it's like, how much bigger can this possibly get
Yeah.
in this linear fashion? And then
Yeah.
if you think about just like all the different branches they're creating and side stories that they could just explore in so many different ways at the same time or different expansions, like I would have never thought that they would try to plan Destiny to go this long and far. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's fun to think too that because they've said that there's like a plan for this like this lightness versus darkness like war, right? And that's going to end, but then there's still be Destiny after that, and like where do they go after that? They could go anywhere.
Yeah, seriously. And it's
that's because he's such a different aesthetic, right? As well, like that's the really cool part. It's like
super sci-fi.
Okay, land with like super sci-fi space, and it'd be really cool to see more of that.
Anime Michael Jackson boss.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I find it fascinating, all these lore entries of like a place where the traveler has visited, and then what follows after the traveler visiting is like a collapse and chaos.
It's always
like,
bad. The traveler
It's always bad.
It's it's the beginning of the end. It briefly lifts you up, but ultimately you're gonna fall.
Yeah, I mean, like, right? Isn't it the look at the Fallen's homeworld and like places that the traveler's been?
The ARG released some theories on why this happens, and this is actually pretty cool. This is a sneak peek, guys. Don't steal this. This is my next content next week. Okay, just between us. Yeah. Don't tell anyone. But it's about the idea of the light. Stop taking notes. It's about
my Elden Ring notebook.
It's about the idea that the light makes you forget and the darkness makes you remember, and it explores that concept. And what it says is it gives you it uses I think it's called game theory, and I think these are like psychological case studies examples. And one of the examples is like if you have two villages and you produce grain, and this is like in the book, it gives this example in the book. It's really fun to think about. And if both villages produce 900 whatever units of grain each year, if one chooses to go to war with the other, they then get 1,200 units of grain. And that one that doesn't go to war has 0. If they both go to war, then they have produced grain and it's, only 500 each rather than the 900. So, and you start doing these things of like odds, and it's like your options are, if you don't choose to go to war, your risk is you lose everything. But if you do go to war, at least you get something. And if they choose not to go to war, you get even more.
This is an extension of sword logic.
It can be, yes. It's sort of there is some sword logic stuff in there, which sort of leads into that. But it provides this idea of how you get in a constant cycle of war. And eventually it leads down the path of, well, the light, the only way you can forget that, okay, so what happens is if human nature is to retaliate. So if you choose not to go to war and you lose all your grain, the next year, you're probably going to choose to go to war, right? And then you end a constant cycle of war. And so I think Akora and her agents hypothesize that the traveler makes you forget because the only way you get out of cycle of war is unjustified forgiveness. And so if we wipe your memory, you no longer have the pain of the previous cycle of war and you can forgive. And that's meant to be their reasoning for the light wiping your memory. And the reasoning for the darkness recovering your memory, they hypothesize that that's because you also need to remember who breaks the truce so they don't do it again, or you're not taken advantage of again. And so with those two things, the forgiveness and remembering who are bad actors, we can get to a better place in the universe.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting, right?
Very, very
interesting. Yeah. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading the. I'm not obviously explaining this very well, so I know people are going to pick on it, but I'm just doing it from memory. This idea of the prisoner's dilemma, where you have like two suspects, and essentially, if they both blame each other, they get 5 years. If they're both silent, they only get 1 year. So the greater good is nobody snitches, and you only get 1 year in prison. But if you snitch and the other guy they get 10 years, right? So it's like this idea that like when you look at all your options, your best option is to snitch. Because you either get 0 years because the other person stays silent, or you only get 5 years. Whereas staying silent means you get potentially 1 year or 10 years. It's called the prisoner's dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the war dilemma with the grain analysis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and so
fascinating.
the new ARG law book goes through all these like philosophical examples, and then they sort of bring it back to the light and the darkness and all this kind of stuff. It's
the writing is crazy.
Sociology class, that's a better way to say it. Yeah.
And it's I can assume with all of this crazy stuff that we're hearing about and how interesting of a character all the characters in the raid are, Caretaker and Rolk, that people are just naturally wanting to get more interested in the lore. Because, like, who is this guy? Why does everything outside of this place look like this, but inside the pyramids is like weird moving things, and it's a very different aesthetic.
Why does that horse have so many butts?
Why do they have so many butts? What's up with that?
They like to wear
I was interested in, so in the cinematic we saw like a bunch of pyramids kind of attacking, and we're gonna wipe them out apparently.
Oh yeah.
Who's in control of those pyramids? Is that different disciples of the Witness?
Wouldn't the Witness be captain?
Because it's just the Witness and multiple captains.
Well, the disciples are controlling each individual pyramid, right? And then the Witness is like orchestrating everything.
So is there a disciple in all of those pyramids?
Without reading more, and I'm not too sure what's been said, my gut reaction is there's a potential disciple in each pyramid, especially how the raid plays out, where you go to like the nerve center of the pyramid and a disciple's in that cocoon sarcophagus thing and breaks out of it, and everything was sort of powering him. I sort of feel like each pyramid would have their own control center, so to speak, with a disciple. But I'm not sure.
I think that makes sense, because he was clearly looking, and the Witness is clearly looking for more disciples, right? They're looking for recruiting. More and more. They're recruiting.
Well, Savathun was meant to be one. I reckon Callus will be one.
And wasn't there a thing about he's also looking at Eris and other people? The eyeball situation?
Yeah, somebody snapped a screenshot of them doing boss DPS, and they had a sniper on his head, on Rogue's head.
You do.
And he has 6 eyes. And wouldn't you know it, 2 of his eyes have a weird symbol. And one of the symbols is the symbol you see on the Exo Stranger and Anna Bray, that little circle with the division down it. The other symbol is not necessarily in Destiny, but it is a symbol for the Hand of Eris.
I'm going to say that's not a coincidence.
I'm going to say it's not
guess that.
Not a coincidence. So with that, and that's like, does that mean that that's who he has his eye on? Because that's literally the shape of his eye. Is it kind of like a hit list of future disciples?
Disciples, yeah, could be.
Or somebody he has to assassinate.
Or some,
Take out. Eris is evil. I feel a topic coming back.
Yeah, how can you deny the Witness with his giant, sad puppy dog eyes? It's just so convincing.
It's really cool if you go and look at the art station again. I think that the link will be in the 12 when we get to it, but go check out all the different designs for the Witness. It's really cool. Yeah, the artist that worked on it.
Yes, very cool.
So does this mean that we know the scope then of the worm gods? Like, is this the full scope, or is there other worm gods potentially on other planets that we just don't know about? Or
I reckon this wraps up the worm god like saga pretty neatly.
Mhm.
I don't feel like there's too many unanswered questions. I think this puts a nice bow on the worm gods and the worm larvae and the like hive origin story. I wouldn't expect to get any other plot twists because they've just they've thrown them out one after another when it comes to like rewriting the books of sorrow and all that.
What does the hive look like without worm gods?
We saw it in the campaign. Remember with the fundament memory.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other hive looked like, but we saw the siblings of we saw Ziva Wrath and
I mean, like, what is the future of hive?
Oh, sorry, the worm.
You know, like, what's the future of the hive without their worm gods?
Well, that's an interesting thing because Savathun, I think this was in the Lord 2, takes out the worm factory. Which makes the larvae, which makes the hive that we know today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, don't know.
They're going
I don't know what
extinct.
happens if you don't introduce worm larvae to hive.
No.
They're going to become a different race that are more approachable, less.
They move into the tower.
Yeah.
They're moving into the tower.
It's like acolytes doing stuff.
C14's going to have a shit fit.
They're going to take over that noodle shop down in the bottom.
Yeah.
They could. They could.
I'm not eating any hive noodles. No.
When can we have the worms as pets? I want to ride one. One of the giant worms.
Mounts.
Yeah, mount a worm. That would be amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that Bungie introduced a new race with the with the
Lubrays.
Yeah. I mean, it's a one and done. There's no more because he killed them all. But he was the last one.
But yeah, it opens up the idea of actually seeing the rest of the Bungie universe, Destiny universe.
It really does. It's
characters.
Maybe not showing as a race that we'll see in the game, but it's like, hey, look, there's this whole other people on different planets and different cultures, and they look very different and they fight different, and that's super interesting. So that really does.
How do you guys feel for exterminating an endangered species?
Yeah, we did wipe it out.
Rolk shot first. Rolk was trying to do the golden shower, and I was like, "Nah, man, we're taking you out."
He was trying to take golden showers. That's true.
How cool is the kick?
The kick is awesome. I need that as a finisher for my guardian. That exact kick.
That'd be good.
I need that.
And I love the mechanic. Like, I don't have time to play other games, but it did feel like an RPG, like a top-down RPG encounter. Like, it felt like the way he was doing like mechanics and the 4 beams coming out. Like, it felt like you were doing that, Final Fantasy 14 boss. Even though I've never played Final Fantasy, I almost felt like it had that flavor to it, which was cool.
It was kind of that flavor, yeah. Because in a lot of those, not even just raids, but like in Lost Ark, you have a kind of raid, I guess. But they function similarly. They'll like dash at you, they'll shoot out beams, and obviously because it's top down, you can see the beams coming out. You want to jump in them, you want to avoid them. So it definitely felt very much so like one of those fights.
Yeah, I actually really appreciated that infight. I thought it was a lot of fun, and we got to figure out the mechanics post contest because we stopped at the 3rd encounter because we were tired and they're just running through all those enemies on contest levels.
15 hours, and we're like,
yeah,
what?
exactly.
This isn't going so good.
Yep. I was actually surprised that we didn't end up using the relics in the final part because I actually was kind of expecting, how they have a thing where they usually build up each part until ultimately the very end. You're using everything in there.
We're just dicking around in Rolk's museum. That's all we were doing.
Yeah.
Just hanging out in the
chilling
museum.
in there. I really appreciate it. I thought it was fun. It was fun to figure out, and I thought they did a good job of also not making it too punishing. Like they had the mechanic where if you didn't pass the I forget what it was called, then the big crystal would pop up again, so you could get it, but it was only up to 3 times or twice, I should say, and then it would wipe you. So because in the past they've done a few things where like shooting Riven's eye, the wrong eye, and instant wipe, like.
Yeah,
that's too punishing. You got to.
It also felt
give a little leeway.
It also felt really good on contests, like the relic run in other contests. We would have just friggin' died. Like there's so many ads that you would have just fallen over. So contest felt like a really good mixture. I didn't have to just hide in the back like you do in a GM. You know, you could kind of be aggressive. And that felt so much better. I
Yeah,
liked
actually,
that a lot.
I agree. I thought difficulty was in a good balance. Like,
Yeah.
the Void 3.0 stuff obviously helped, and it gave you this build of like you're feeling powerful, but yet you can still get stomped really easily. And I definitely appreciated that.
Yeah, like with the contest mode, it was still viable. As a Titan, you could go on and still punch stuff and it would explode. Like, it wasn't like other modes where you go up to an enemy and you'd punch like a thrall and they'll just like tank and then go donk and like one tap you, because it was, you know, the museum run or whatever that encounter's called was about speed. So there didn't need to be tanky like red bars. They could let you have that power fantasy still, but it was about clearing it as quick as possible and coordinating it, which was cool.
Yeah,
it was much more mechanical and let you play your build and your class the way you wanted to.
Yeah. Now, I didn't do it. Oh, go for it, Jay.
No, I was just gonna say that contest just requires a little bit more problem solving, because there's usually just one or two things that are keeping you from beating it.
Yeah, sandbox,
100%.
analyzing, tuning, and all that. Yeah, I agree. I didn't get to do any of the relic, or not the relic, but the glyph juggling and memorizing. You know, you and Fran, Mylan, you guys were like a glyph team.
I got to do that Monday evening.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun.
Yeah. They, you know, it's kind of like Riven. The number of them, the number of symbols to remember.
There are a lot of symbols,
right?
Yeah, it's
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, we could talk about how we feel about each encounter, actually. Just how we feel about the raid, if you guys want to.
But I'm curious though, how do you feel about like that many symbols and that being, because you know, like from a teaching point of view, also I know they have names, but there's still the like people have to remember these if they're going to play that part in the raid, because you could easily be like, the mountain, there's a mesa, Arizona mesa.
Learning curve for that job in that encounter. I wanted to learn it. It took me 5 or 6 wipes before I finally got the hang of the room and collecting the symbols and remembering them for 30 seconds when you come out to shoot the right ones. And stuff.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I can see two different sides of this. Personally, I enjoyed it. I love when games make you have a mental challenge combined with a gameplay challenge, because that's, you know, what makes it difficult is you're trying to juggle these things in your head. Multiple people are doing different roles and you're juggling, trying to remember things whilst, you know, staying alive. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Was it, I guess like one question is like, was it overused? Was there too much? Do you think it was too similarly themed throughout the raid? You know, I feel no, but I definitely could see someone's opinion if they said, yeah, you know, especially if they have ADHD. I know people were sort of talking about that, or other things that might be impacting so many symbols being in the raid. And then I guess the rebuttal to that is, well, you know, it's raids are meant to challenge you mentally as well as like your gameplay ability, and you're never going to be able to suit everyone. So I don't quite know where I sit on it. I personally enjoyed it, but I definitely could see people that thought maybe it was overused or maybe there was too many symbols. I don't know.
Once I got the language down I mean, I haven't done that part yet where you guys had to go in and look at certain things and then come up with the sequence or that need to be shot. So I haven't done that part yet, but like once I got the names down, it felt good, but initially it's pretty rough having to like remember 26 symbols. Apparently it's 25 or 26 symbols.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's it is. It is. I'm interested in what other people. I haven't really thought too much about it. I'm interested in seeing some other opinions on people who didn't like it and why they didn't like it. For sure.
To that point, you know, once you have a team and you're working together for a while, it just takes a little bit of time before you're on the same page with callouts. The only issue I see is expecting new players to like learn and memorize the standard callouts for these. It's like, yeah, you can look at them and it'll tell you the name, but like in the heat of the moment when you're frantic, when it's like you mess up once and you're dead, it's kind of tough to expect it. So I think almost every run, unless people have done the raid a bunch, expecting new players to do that is a little bit too much. So what I'm probably gonna do is just say like, just try to describe it the best you can in the moment, and we'll try to get on the same page because it's
Yeah.
just
That's a good idea.
it's a lot
Yeah.
with new people.
Like that second encounter, or maybe it was the first encounter. I can't remember, where you're confronted with the first set of symbols. And you're like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get the glyphs in the cave or in the rooms. And you're like, these are
Oh
different.
yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
There's a lot to remember.
You gotta do homework before the raid.
Yeah.
Gotta have
Honestly,
a
that's
note-taking
probably
role.
the
Right.
easiest thing to do is to have, if someone wants to do the raid, send them the sheet of all the names of stuff, and it's like just try
Yeah.
and look through. You don't need to memorize all of them, but just familiarize yourself with the way they look and some of their names, and I think you'd be okay. Monday night we did the raid with I think 3 people who just didn't know anything about the raid. It was actually pretty smooth up until the relic run, because you can kind of have them on like ad clearing duty and
Yeah.
in the totems, and they can familiarize themselves with some of the call outs. Like they were calling out some stuff, but with the relic run, it's like you have to deal with holding a relic. Most likely everyone kind of has to do something. You probably have to read because not everyone can read everything. So yeah, that's probably the one that's causing the most problems for a lot of teams, because like you have to do something.
There's a lot of mechanics in there that I still didn't even realize, even though we passed it until like yesterday. And someone was like, yeah, if you have this relic, only you can see the
I didn't
glyph
learn
keep,
that
like the
Oh.
scorned glyph keeper.
Yeah.
I still don't know the pattern, whatever it is. Like if you're scorned glyph keeper, you need whatever relic to see
relic.
those glyphs.
No relic.
No relic,
Yeah.
right.
If
And
it's the
other
taken one,
you need a relic, right,
Yeah.
to see.
Any of the relics.
Didn't know that. I thought
Any
it was
of them.
random. I thought it was random.
I
Well,
thought
that's
it
how
was
ran
until
first day. Yeah.
Zealous. One of my mods was just like, yeah, if you have the artifact, you see the taken guy. If you don't have an artifact, you see the other guy. And I'm like, huh? What do you mean? Well, that makes it easier because it's like we need a relic reader over here and a
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I would never see it in that first room, because I never picked up the
Yeah.
artifact.
Yeah, the
That's
same.
so
I was like,
much
I'm only
sense.
seeing left. I don't know what the heck.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I thought it was so odd. I could always see him. Because I had the bloody relic. I was like, how unlucky is this? I think that room, to be honest, I actually really enjoy, even though there's lots of mechanics in that room.
The third
I
encounter?
still think that the relic run, I
Yeah.
still really like the concept that it was a timed encounter where you had to have your build as a killing machine, and the way that you had to coordinate a team is really cool. I acknowledge that it makes it really hard to teach people because you can't see the end rooms. So I can imagine Jay going, then we're going to get to another room. Okay? Try your best. And then once we get past that room, then we're going to get to another room. And I can't even show you around. I can't give you guided tour. You're just going to have to trust me what it looks like. I'm going to talk you through it.
Yeah.
But I think that's a cool challenge, though. I think that is it is cool.
It's trying to figure out the best kind of group, because you have to have between the third and fourth room, there's 3 relics in each room. You have to, without cheesing it, because you can like die and then pick it up again. But I'm like, I don't really want to do that. It doesn't really teach people anything.
Right.
So you have to have 3 people in room 3 with the relic, and then the other 3 people in room 4. So at some point, there's going to be everybody with a relic. So it's like, what relics is the easiest for which room? What's people's most comfortable spot? All that stuff. It's challenging, but it's kind of fun too.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't want that for every encounter, but I'd be very happy to see a high level sort of team coordination like that with a speed run in future raids. I think that's just, it's nice not being a single room and to have to like progress through multiple rooms.
It breaks up the encounters
and not be
really
about
well.
DPS.
Yeah,
it
agreed.
does. Yeah.
It breaks up the encounters and makes it feel like a really fun, like, okay, now we're doing a speed run part before we are locked in a particular area for a long time. Like, I think it's cool. Bungie did a good job with that.
I dig it. I think I like all the encounters. Really like the totem one. I kind of dig that one where you're all making calls and someone's going in a room, and I like that as well. Caretaker, both jobs are pretty fun. Whether you're doing the simples.
Oh yeah, that was fun actually.
Yes, you like backpack. Did you like that, Tufty? Backpack for 20 hours.
I got used to. I built around it too. I was like, okay, let's put AOE reduction mods on, so I could tank the hits a little bit better. And I was like rocking the well just in case I needed an emergency pick me up right there. Yeah, I got really good at like baiting him all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
I would love, because we're gonna play tomorrow, right? I'd love to do some different roles because I didn't really get to see the bait and the backpack, and it'd be cool to do some of the other roles.
Yeah,
in there.
I'd love to yell out "Love Elmo Puke" and stuff.
Yep.
Witness Elmo
I actually
puke.
really enjoy the spacing between the encounters. It really lets you breathe. It almost reminded me of King's Fall, where there's just a long area between each encounter to just kind of catch your breath, discover and explore the ship, find secrets. All that stuff was really cool.
Yeah, exploration I thought was fantastic, and I don't know what the right way was that we were supposed to go, but we ended up going on a wild goose chase on the outside of the building.
The jumping puzzle
where we missed a button completely.
Yeah,
just completely missed a button.
Missed a button completely. Yeah, went all the way around. I was like, I don't know if we're going the right way. And then suddenly we're in the third encounter. I'm like, we clearly did.
Well, the right way. It was a little difficult. We did it.
Yeah.
And
great.
how good's the armor looking, man? That was kept secret, and like that was dropping, and we're like, oh my god,
it's so unique. Like, even if you are like, I don't love the hunter cape, it's a little weird looking. It's so unique though. Like, it makes you look like some kind of space villain, and that's really cool. I dig it because it's.
I
so
like
unique.
that they kept it secret too, like such a surprise as you're getting it,
and the weapons too.
The weapons look great.
Yeah.
And you get red bordered ones, so you can like craft, right? You can craft it. It gives you the replayability. That's all we all want to do.
Really like
get the full gear set.
Yeah.
And
I know there's problems right now with the crafting system in terms of resource limits, but I do really like the fact that raids are now, or at least this raid is dropping craftable versions. I think that's cool.
Yeah. I like that.
I hope they expand the what we can craft sooner than later.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is
once people get materials?
How is the exotic pulse?
Stock up.
Yeah.
Oh, the exotic pulses. I haven't got it.
Anybody had a chance to try it?
Yeah. No.
I've seen it used. I don't know what its perk is.
Does it seem good?
Which is interesting. So it if something has a debuff, a void debuff, it takes it, and if you shoot, like, doesn't take it, but it absorbs it and then applies it to anything else you shoot. So if something's got weaken on it, and you shoot the thing that's got weaken, and then you shoot something that doesn't have weaken, it will have weaken applied to it. Having volatile.
You become a debuff conduit.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I believe there is something. I think if you use the buffs, it reloads it. So if you get an overshield, it reload it. If you get invisibility, it will reload it. And if you get devour, it will reload it.
Wow. If you reproc devour?
Cool.
I mean, that means it would have that would make it very good. I haven't used it yet. I don't know.
That sounds pretty good.
Because devour just keeps procking, so
every proc.
Okay. You don't have to reload it if you got devour on.
Sounds pretty
You see that image of it showing the art and how it kind of gets infected by the darkness and then goes away.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
What a cool weapon.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the only issue with it is you just can't see your screen because the reticle takes up.
You gotta buy the ornament, baby.
You gotta buy
the ornament makes the sight
pay to see.
Tess coming in with that Eververse action.
Pay to see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Come on,
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Wow. Yeah, I'm excited to hopefully get that. I actually I want to play the raid a lot after playing it.
Me too.
It was really fun, and I'm looking forward to playing it. None of it really felt laborious, like sometimes certain raids can feel like, oh boy, this is now this encounter, like that opening for what's the raid? Yeah, Crown. I think about that, I'm like, yeah, no thanks. This just already feel like so yeah, I'm excited to play more of it, which we're playing tomorrow, right?
Me too.
We are. Yeah. We're doing the raid tomorrow, everybody.
Isn't a certain Holtzman going to be there?
Holtzman's joining us.
Nice.
Oh my
goodness.
Mr.
Holtzman himself.
That'll be great.
Nice.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, so I really liked it. Oh, also, so there was the discussion about the contest mode. Originally 24 hours,
Right.
and then because of all the BS with the disconnections and problems, Bungie extended it to 48 hours. And
Yep.
a lot of people think that should be the normal, the de facto. It's like because it's healthier for your sleep schedule too. Like if you go 14 hours and then have to keep on going until the 24 hours is up to try to get your completion,
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy. No, not healthy at all.
I think there's an opportunity for Bungie to kind of be like, you know what? Like, for the health of the Guardians, we're going to keep it at 24 hours. So you can get some sleep and then get back at it the next morning.
Yeah.
You know?
So there's positives and negatives about it. 100% way more healthy if you and your raid team can plan to do it over 2 days instead of trying to fit it into just one stream.
Mhm.
And you're in the same time zone.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm getting up at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
2 days in a row instead of 1.
True.
Yeah.
The negative is that there were teams that were planning on playing it on Sunday when contest was over, when they didn't want to do contest. So
a toggle button on Sunday morning would work, right? It's like on Sunday morning it opens up and says, do you want to continue with the contest or do you want to just do the normal raid?
Yeah. So there were a ton of people that were like, I plan, because obviously it's a weekend. It's a weekend thing. People are free on the weekend. So if they can't play on Sunday, they might have to wait a week to do the raid, to put that time in to do it blind if they want to do it blind. I mean, even if you're not doing it blind, it can take a very long time to complete a raid for the first time. So there were a few people that were telling me, like, that's exactly what happened to me. We planned on playing on Sunday, but now we have to wait for a week. So there's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives with it. Of course, a toggle would be perfect.
I feel like a toggle after the first team to beat it would be make the most sense. Like they've unlocked the raid. Now you can toggle whether you want to go contest mode.
I agree.
That'd be great because then everybody would be kind of waiting for that first raid clear too.
Yeah. Another suggestion that I heard also, because people were like, well, what if you beat in the 24 hours instead of the 48? I heard a suggestion about a custom, or not custom, but like the 24-hour emblem have a number in there up to the first 500. So the first 500 teams,
that'd be cool.
You get ranked on there, so you could share that you were like team 250 to clear in the 24 hour.
That's cool.
Actually, I thought that was a really great idea.
Probably new tech they'd have to build, but I would love that.
If you could chase the top 500 clear,
I would love that. Yeah,
represent it on your emblem. I think that would be really cool. But yeah,
I think just left. What if they just left it open? Like contest mode is an option that you can choose at any point during the season.
That'd be great.
But you only get the emblem if you complete it either within the first 48 hours or whatever. Because the deal is, they introduced contest. What was Crown was the first contest raid. But 24 hours has been a thing for a long time. And I feel like contest overall takes more time and is more difficult to complete, like to your argument, in 24 hours. So I think 48 hours at least is probably what they should move to, because it's just a different type of raid.
I really hope they consider adding contest as a toggle forever.
Yeah.
Because it really felt like that's how the raid was meant to be played. And it's like the Halo days, whereas like these encounters were designed for heroic or whatever it is, and that's where you get the best experience. And it sort of feels like that. I sort of feel bad for people that didn't have time to play and they don't get to experience contest mode. And I think if they can work out a way to make it toggle, you can toggle it and work out what you want to do with the rewards, have a different emblem after 24, 48 hours, just something different, and make it worth your time to at least experience contest mode. Because I'll be honest, I think I probably prefer contest mode over master. So
has Bungie ever addressed that? Like, I feel like at one point they did address why they didn't keep contest mode going.
Officially, I'm not sure. I think it just doesn't seem like they're really into the idea. They're more into like the master mode, and because like the problem then, if they set a precedent of contest mode is always available, and then people start complaining that you only get an emblem. It's like, oh, no extra drop, Bungie, no extra pinnacle for doing.
That is a good point. If they leave contest mode open, then everybody's gonna bitch. There's no reason to do contest mode because there's not extra loot from doing it. So why even have it there?
Yeah, they'd have to add
immediately. Everybody starts bitching.
Yeah.
2 years down the road, when everyone's forgotten that you couldn't have contest mode before, new people are coming in and being like, "You only get an emblem." Yeah.
I don't know. I just think master the whole idea of you basically reach pinnacle level and then you just got to grind out artifact levels until master's completable, like at your skill level.
I don't love
like,
master difficulty stuff. I don't. I
Yeah.
don't dig
it just, you know, I see why you do it because it keeps your players playing to reach end game content.
Right.
But, you know,
But technically, crafting should do that for us. Crafting should keep us
Yeah.
in the loop of wanting to keep going. And
I think it's got enough things going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get people playing.
yeah. But I do like the discussions around contest mode, and I think there is room for changing in the future for both the healthier viewpoint and also an interesting, like, I don't know, switch up on it, whether it's 48 hours or whether it's available all the time. And you have emblems. I know some people are talking about like showing your time, how long you spent in the first 24 hours. I like that up until you realize that some people could just leave it on and AFK with a bot to stay in the first encounter for the full 24 hours. Be like, I was in there for 24 hours. Yeah.
There's an interesting conversation that Lux Regalia brings up in chat, who says, do you think we'll be able to craft adept raid weapons? If not, why bother crafting them at all? So I saw some of that over the weekend of,
Interesting.
when Master comes out, we're released with Vault of Glass, we got adept raid weapons. So now of course there's a conversation of, well, regular players might not want to do Master. I don't want to do Master, so I don't really care about the adept, so I would craft the regular raid weapons. But does it make sense you crafting anything at all if you're just kind of waiting for the adepts? And if you
Awesome.
can't craft the adepts, then
Yeah. I really hope Bungie has thought of this already, and it's an
I hope they
interesting
have.
solution. Because if they haven't,
Yeah.
then yikes.
I mean, is it worth having something good if it's not perfect? Of course it is, right?
it's still worth crafting. It's just, I think it's an interesting.
Well, a crafted like normal god roll would probably be better than a dog shit adept. I think is like
Clearly, yeah.
is a toss up. But then it's like, well, why do master if you can't craft adept?
I mean, if they added a way to have like an adept mod on the normal weapons, then it would be no point to craft an adept weapon. I think that's probably one of the bigger points to having adept, because you're going to be crafting the perks you want anyways. So it's not like you need the 2 rolls in the adept weapons. Like, I don't know.
So I haven't got any craftable. I haven't crafted any raid weapons. Can you get adept? Can you put the adept rolls on?
I doubt it.
No, I don't think so.
You can't. Okay, so you think adept mods will be for all the adept weapons then?
That would
because like a normal weapon, you can put it. You already have like crafting lets you put adept perks on normal weapons.
The enhanced perks.
Enhanced perks. Sorry, enhanced perks. I don't know.
Maybe that's the thing. It's enhanced perks versus adept mods. I don't know.
Don't know.
I think it would be a waste to have both personally. But because if you didn't have craftable adept, there'd still be a reason to go for them because they can put the adept mods on them.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you have both, then there's not really a reason to do normal if you're going to be doing both.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this should have been something where Master would give you some sort of crafting item that you could then push your regular crafted raid weapons to one level further. Like that would make it more. So you'd still getting something from the regular, but then you could potentially get something from Master that would help you further your chase for crafting. So I don't know.
No more materials, Teft.
Well, okay. Assuming that's been ironed out, because there's issues with that. Do you think they're going to bump that up?
The cap on the crafting.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jay?
I was just going to say, have you guys even really crafted anything up to this point?
Not really. Not after the things I needed to craft. I definitely will craft raid weapons for sure.
There's not a whole lot in the pool currently.
There's not, yeah.
So we're just all saving up red weapons and materials right now.
Pretty much.
Finish the weapon, throw it in the vault, and it's like, well, here comes 500 out of 500.
Yeah.
I think there's a problem with the alloys. I think we need to have more places to get the Ascendant alloys, especially for solo players. And I'm sure that's keeping a lot of people being like, well, I don't want to craft anything unless I know I really want it.
Yeah.
Because of the Ascendant alloys.
Yep.
Bit of some growing pains with crafting, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it too easy though, because then it'll be like you immediately craft your perfect weapon and you stop interacting with the system altogether.
Yeah, there's a balance to it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balance, having it meaningful versus too accessible.
Yeah. The chase plus meaning plus accessibility, like it's a tough thing to balance for sure.
Yeah.
We'll probably figure it out eventually.
Yeah. Right.
Especially when you got people who play your game for 2 hours a week and for 40 hours a week.
Did we
What's in the TWAB this week, Watts?
Yeah, the TWAB.
There's really not much in there this week. We got a couple things, but nothing world defining, world changing. So we did it. Yeah, go for it, Jake.
I was just gonna say you got the Rourke dance.
We did. That is worth it. That is a good thing. Yeah, that is good. That was very good. We got some stats, which was very cool. And we kind of talked about it a little bit initially. But there's some more stats, and I wish they would give us the stats and statistics and all the good stuff from other raids. Because it doesn't really mean much to us, right? Where we hear 546,000 total players in the raid. Well, what was it in other raids?
Yeah, but still, it's a big number.
It's a big number. We know it's a big number. We know that the number is massive. So besides those stats, we had players that cleared acquisition, which is the first encounter, 270,000. Players that cleared caretaker, 131,000. Players that cleared exhibition, 80,000. And then unique players that cleared the full raid in 48 hours is 32,000.
Wow.
So 32,000 out of 546,000. That's not that many, really.
6%.
It's a small percentage, for sure.
And I technically didn't complete the whole raid. There's about 5% of it that I didn't. I didn't during contest complete that 4th room in exhibition. So I completed everything else except for the 4th room. I probably won't get the emblem.
Well, I hope you do. You finished the raid.
It's fine.
Total hours spent in Vow of the Disciple contest mode, 4.2 million. That's a lot of
Holy
hours.
smokes.
Total enemy defeats is like 1 billion. Crazy. Lots of people in the raid.
What do you think could have been accomplished with 4.2 million man hours?
It's the equivalent of 482 years of time.
Wowzer.
Could have built a spaceship in that time.
Could have done a lot of things.
You got paid minimum wage.
They talk a little bit about Anteater. They said that obviously this made it difficult for people to complete their raid runs, especially when tension was already high from trying to be the first to win. While we know this did upend some players, weekend plans, to play the raid on non-contest mode, we felt it was fair to extend the period since the normal version of the raid is always available. I think they totally made the right choice extending it with all of the issues. Where they go from here with contest, we'll see. But I think it was the right decision.
Yeah.
So there's a couple more things that they say about it, but it's a lot of like, hey, the raid came out, Season of the Risen, World's First, bada bing. But next we have Trials and Loot. So Trials is tomorrow, guys, if you didn't know.
Oh, sick.
Dang.
Trials is tomorrow.
Shine me up.
And there's a brand new Legendary Scout Rifle, and then the Summoner is also coming back.
54 bullets?
54 bullets!
Fire
Back.
hose.
It is back. Of course, all 6 weapons in the Trials pool will have Alacrity and 1 Quiet Moment. Alacrity is the Trials origin trait, and then 1 Quiet Moment is the just regular Crucible one. Alacrity is pretty nuts. It's when you're the last remaining player, or if you're just running solo, like in a lost sector, you're going to have increased reload, stability, aim assist, range. It's really noticeable. It's kind of crazy.
That's good.
It's real good. And then one quiet moment grants increased reload speed when not in combat. So if you need to run away and do a cheeky reload, there you go. The scout rifle is a 260 RPM rapid fire frame. It's called Aisha's Embrace. And it can come with triple tap 4 times a charm, which is pretty cool. And then you can also get like tunnel vision and multi-kill clip. Summoner, we already know. It's 600 RPM adapted. It shoots really fast. And it's going to have all the new perks like focused fire from this season and heating up from last season. So even though you might have some of the trials weapons, maybe you want to go back in to get the origin trait. I got the origin trait on I popped a bunch of trials engrams and I got it on an Eye of Soul. That's really nice. So updating your arsenal of trials weapons and having the origin trait.
Engrams before the season flipped.
Oh no, you could free loot, Tafty. Now you gotta play trials.
I had like 8 engrams saved up in there. Oh well.
That's the same fire rate as the Randy's throwing knife, by the way. I was just looking that up.
Really?
Oh, I
really
really
fast.
liked Randy's.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Good.
You
I'm
think they're
gonna
gonna let
put
us-
full auto on that thing.
You think they're gonna let us craft trial stuff? I feel like that'd be pretty huge if they did.
That would be huge
no.
if they did.
It's gonna make me
Tafty's
want to
like,
play
I gotta go
trials.
Wanna
play.
Because those guns
We're-
are so good.
Yeah, they are.
We might have to. We could bring back the Friday trials with a hint of raid.
Oh man, see how long we last.
Next we have information about Iron Banner. So it's going to be this coming Tuesday. So next Tuesday is going to be some Iron Banner, which means there will not be trials. So if you want to play trials, play it this weekend or wait an extra.
Right.
All 6 weapons in the Iron Banner pool will have the Skull King Wolf trait, which activates during the hunt with enhanced radar and removal from enemy radar when you land final blows with it.
Really?
Wow.
Kind of crazy. Oh, it's very specific, but it's kind of crazy. And then
What
they
does
also
during
have,
the hunt mean?
well, the hunt is when you have all 3 points captured, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
all
it's
the
only
points are
during
locked.
that point. Okay.
I don't capture
So-
points. Yeah.
The rich get richer and the poor get poor. Like,
Yeah, pretty
we're
much.
killing you right now. Let's make it way more lopsided. Yeah.
It's very specific. It's a very. I don't know if you'll ever really make use of that particularly. And then
release
of
the
course all
wolves.
returning Iron Banner weapons will have the updated perk pools, including new perks from the current season. Now we also do have 2 new weapons. The sword is basically a lightsaber. It looks really
Yeah,
cool.
it looks cool as
Looks
shit.
And it's-
yeah.
And it's a vortex frame. So it's called Razor's Edge. And we haven't had a vortex frame in a long time.
Awesome.
This can come with Wellspring. It can come with Chain Reaction, Unrelenting.
What's the
So
flavor?
the sword, it is, I assume, Void.
Dude, if it's void with chain reaction and the
Is it
spinnies,
Void with Chain Reaction?
Is
What's it called,
Vortex
Razor?
frame the spinny?
It is the spinnies. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, dude. If we
It
get
is indeed.
a void spinny chain reaction, like oof, I'm gonna have to play some Iron Banner.
With all the void mods and
Yep.
floaties and oh yeah.
It is
Ooh,
Void.
yeah.
It is Void. I have 2 of them. I have one with Frenzy. Pretty fun. Yeah, it is Void. Let me tell you, I was using a spinny sword in the raid with all of my Void mods, and it was Void. And that's some of the most fun I've had, is just spitting and things just going pew and going invisible every time things exploded. We're also getting a hand cannon called Frontier's Cry, which is a 180 hand cannon. We can get steady hands, compulsive reloader, plus iron reach, which apparently makes it exceed the range available to most precision hand cannons. So could end up being one of the better precision hand cannons.
It looks
Also,
cool too.
Eternity and Vostok are back. I played on Eternity earlier today. It actually is pretty fun. Eternity was the
don't
OG
believe you.
Trials of the 9 map.
I don't believe you.
No, but it's not the annoying big one. It's the OG Trials of the 9 map.
Yeah, I guess
Which
that one
is
wasn't as bad.
Significantly more
Yeah.
fun.
But
than-
remembered for scout rifle spam.
Yeah. The one hand on the
Well, that
cheek,
was
the other
the
hand aiming
meta,
down
I
sides.
Yeah, with the double primary, that was
Yeah.
the meta.
Yep.
That's really it. Besides some hot fixes, which I think there's some interesting stuff that you need to talk about. First of all, you need to go to Rahul and get your Ascendant alloy because he's selling 2 for the price of 1.
Whoa.
Just
One-time
for
deal.
1
Get it
week.
while it's hot.
Yeah.
With
Get it while
deals
it's hot,
like
don't-
this, you can't afford not to buy them.
Exactly.
Glaive mods were unable to be obtained. That's been fixed. Players are no longer blocked from interacting with armor or weapon sockets until the reset of the UI fully loads in. Gambit engram focusing was more expensive than intended. I didn't even know that.
You were playing Gambit?
I played a little
What's
bit.
Gambit?
A little bit of Gambit. I haven't played recently.
Gambit.
You can also change your name now. You have a one-time Bungie name change, so use that wisely.
Can't change the numbers though, sadly.
No, can't change your number.
I'm
And
gonna
then our
change my
next
name to
reset is at 10 a.m. Pacific because
Right.
clocks are changing. So
Spring
I
forward.
like it
Clocks are
at 10.
changing.
10 is nice. I get to wake up a bit later if I want to be on for resets. Very nice.
Oh.
10 a.m. is great.
Yeah, 10, yeah. But he's
Wait,
still waking
don't we
up.
lose an hour? Or do we lose an hour or gain an hour?
We lose an hour, technically.
We lose an hour.
Spring
But if I'm
forward.
waking up at a normal schedule thing, you could wake up an
I
hour
refuse.
later.
I'm keeping my
Or-
hour. Fuck you.
It's the worst. It'll be 1:59, then all of a sudden it's 3 a.m. You're like, what? The
Yeah, that's
crap is this?
That really is the worst.
Yeah.
Mylan's like,
what does this mean for me? Does that mean I come to the podcast an hour later?
Oh, good.
It shouldn't
question.
change for you. Wait,
No, what changed for you?
No, it'll definitely
it does
It'll
if it's still
change.
6. Actually, yeah, it'll be an hour
It'll be
earlier.
7. Wait, is it an hour earlier? Oh my god.
It'll be an hour earlier for you.
Guys, if I'm not here next, is it next week? It starts when his daylight saving starts.
Yeah, it's this Sunday. This Sunday is when it hits.
I'm either going to be an
I
hour
didn't know
early or
that.
an hour late. Work it out.
Well, if reset's going an hour forward, then it would be an hour forward. So
Well, no,
it
because
would
the
be an hour
podcast
later.
not going to 7. The podcast stays at 6, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it would be an hour earlier.
Would it
Because
be
it
an
would
hour?
still be 6, but technically for Mylan, it's an hour earlier, I think.
Yes.
This hurts my head so much.
How about after Sunday, you go on Google and you like, what time is it right now? And
That's literally, yeah. That's all I got to do. Yeah.
Yep.
just Google it. Google the time, it'll let you know. That's really it. We just have some movies of the week. Make sure you go check out a movie of the week by It's Bowl on Twitter, who did a dance video of
Yes.
Rolk, and it is amazing. He's fabulous.
And save that to your pictures and bring it out when you need it.
Wait, what are you doing with this, Briar?
Oh, hey, what I do on my own time is my business. Don't kink shame me, man.
It does look pretty good in those high heels, man. I gotta
Hell
say,
yeah.
He does.
just like walking around all swinging the hips. It's fine.
And there's some beautiful art. Oh my god, there's one by Monstyra. Monstyra is gorgeous. The details on it is beautiful. The art was really, really good, as it always is.
Yeah.
And then there's also a free code in the TWAB for an emblem to show support for Ukraine. Obviously, what's going on with Ukraine is awful.
Yeah.
And there's a free code in the TWAB for you to put on that emblem. And the whole idea behind them creating this emblem for the Ukraine is that if there's any Ukrainian players and they see you wearing that emblem, they're like, oh, hey, I'm not alone during this time. Like,
show
my community
support.
supports me.
Yep.
And
so
we
go
all know
grab the emblem,
matchmaking,
put it
you're
on.
definitely going to get paired with them.
Grab your emblem, put on the emblem.
Yeah.
That's really it. That's about it.
Short twab?
We
Iron
have time
Banner
for some
next.
Twitter questions, or should we wrap it up?
Yeah, we got time for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mohegan 9 says, if or when you become a grandparent, what would you like your nickname to be?
Rolk's Big Toe.
I want to be called Wormy Nina. That's what I want to be. I want to be Nina Worm. Worm Nina. That's what I want.
Pain.
Hey.
Every time you get up,
That's me already.
Mylan would be Lord Daddy, right? Lord
Yeah.
Lord Grampy.
Lord Grampy.
Gramps. Lord Gramps.
Mr. Goodbye says, okay, this one's for Jay. What's your favorite drink in Snake? Also, as Briar's co-host in Retro Slot, what's your opinion on the retro game Briar is worst at?
My opinion of the what game are you worst at, Briar?
Oh,
There's a lot of them. Got to think about all the different games.
I'm not very good at games in general. 120 hours of Elden Ring has showed me that.
But you've done so much in that time, Briar.
Yes, by banging my head against the wall.
Or playing 120 hours and getting real strong.
Yeah, I am.
The thing is, Briar likes to use a lot of guides and things when we're doing games on the podcast. So usually I'm the one who's not as far because I don't often do use the guides. So in some of those retro games, you have to have a guide realistically if you want to get it completed.
Or at least read the manual.
Yeah. Ask for directions. Yeah. But what was the first part of the question? What's my favorite drink of what? Snake?
Drink and Snake.
Your favorite drink and your favorite snake.
Yeah.
Alcoholic, I like gin and tonic. Non-alcoholic, I like the apple Izzy sodas. And then
they're
snake,
so good.
Yeah. Favorite snake, there's none. I fucking hate snakes.
That's correct.
Not even a one cobra?
No, I have a story of my childhood riding my bike through. We had sewers behind our house, and I was riding the bike up to a friend's house, and there was a black snake in the yard, and I thought it was a rubber snake. It looked like a long rubber snake.
No.
So I get off my bike and I go over. It's like jumps up on the fence, and I was like, nope. And I effed it out of it because I lived in Alabama, so there was like all sorts of snakes, cottonmouths.
Oh, nasty snakes down there.
Nasty snakes.
Yeah.
The bad boy snakes.
And the neighbor's dad brought a hoe out and like chopped its head off in the
Wow.
That's a memorable thing for me when I was like 9. I don't like
from
snakes.
that point on, you were never gonna deal with the snake
don't like
ever
them.
again.
I don't like things that can kill me. I'm not going to Australia.
If
I go to Australia, Mylan, I'm staying inside.
Yeah,
Forever.
approximately how many snakes per hour do you see, Mylan?
Yeah.
The
Look,
SPH
you
ratio.
Come to West Coast. The only thing that's gonna get you is a great white shark. Okay, that's true.
But they're really selling it.
So.
Just don't go in the water. Who's going in the ocean?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan
Crazy
of water
people.
anyway. So.
Don't go in the ocean, you'll be fine. Not as many snakes. You go Queensland, North Queensland, you're gonna get snakes and spiders and all sorts of shit. So
How about crocodiles? You got crocodiles?
we do have crocodiles, yeah.
Like everywhere?
But
Again, stay
They
away
walk
from
on
the
land.
water.
I've seen it.
The crocodiles using the crosswalk,
Drop bears.
hitting the light. Yeah, drop bears.
yeah, the drop bears will get you, that's for sure. That's true.
It's terrifying. Brood King 23 says, what was your favorite personalized call out for the raid, or did you guys just use what they had in game?
Did we use what was in game?
We used a nice
Elmo
hybrid.
was great.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
favorite
Elmo
was
was
Elmo
hearing.
was the best.
That's all you guys used at Elmo. I laughed hysterically.
Yeah, my
I
favorite
keep
was
forgetting
definitely
Witness.
hearing.
Like,
the,
still, I see Witness and I'm just like, the guy. So apparently it's the guy now. You have Guardian, Cuphead, and the guy.
Cuphead is a great call out to. I loved Cuphead as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pyramid
Did you guys see
Puke
the
is fun.
Cuphead Netflix series?
No, I haven't watched it. Not yet.
I haven't watched it either.
Oh,
I
like the
love that
animation.
game. I can't wait to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
they made
No,
a
I haven't.
Cartoon
I haven't.
series.
By the way, a friend of mine, you know the one that we called Plateau that's actually Black Garden?
Mhm.
It looks like a shader.
It does.
I'm trying to remember the shader's name now. The Avalon Teal. So it's like his favorite shader. He shades everything with Avalon Teal. Shout out to Synoptic. And so like I was raiding with him and he's like, oh yeah, Avalon Teal. I was like, it does look like Avalon Teal. So now that's what I call that. Makes so much more sense than Black Garden.
Gungar says, so if the traveler's plan was to get the hive the light, and it does give Savathun a ghost and the light, is it possible it could resurrect Oryx in the light?
Just on it.
As a krill instead of a hivish.
Possible? I mean, possible, yeah. Ghost just needs to find Oryx's body, sure.
Orcs is going to move into the tower, isn't he? He's going to become a guardian. He's going to be the new Hunter Vanguard.
He's actually going to be competition.
He makes great noodles.
Yeah, he's going to be competition for Everest. He's going to make hive goods. New
hive goods.
We need a new vendor. You know, one that we can spend real money at. That's what I really want in Destiny.
Like black market ghost, like hive ghost shell.
Black market would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess Xur is supposed to be black market, but he just lost his allure.
True.
Confirmed King.
Veritas Otis 52 says, "Why don't we have a throne world? Aren't we now some of the most powerful beings in the universe? Even Mara and the Mindbender have had throne worlds."
Yeah, where's me throne world?
Well, Mara made it with an armed Kara, so he needed a bargain with a paracausal being, and
you need a worm god for that?
Mindbender. What did Mindbender do? Killed Cade 6 and somehow got the power from that to make a throne world. We don't need a throne world. We have a ghost. It's like a mini portable throne world.
Listen, we're gonna get our own throne world.
Ghosts are?
Yeah, apparently they just die. Yeah,
there's just
a backup plan would be great.
I think we're gonna get our own throne world when Bungie can somehow enable players to get player housing. Then we will have a throne world. That'd be when they create the tech for player housing or player
the throne world. The throne world is you, the player, controlling your guardian
in your house.
In your house, that's your throne world. Your throne world. Is you're in it. Fourth dimension it.
Sabathun is coming.
My throne world has more Cheeto dust in it than I imagined.
It's your throne world, man.
More unopened mail.
Mine still has SRL and sparrow horns.
The one asks, if you could only choose one answer, either yes or no, for every question requiring a yes or no answer, which would it be?
What?
No.
That's the safe answer.
Yeah,
life's not going to be very fun that way.
Yeah, I prefer
if you answer yes to everybody, you're definitely going to get taken advantage of, though.
Yeah, I've seen that movie. No thanks.
How about maybe?
Go through beads to want that one.
Dreadnought says, what if Mobius Quiver summons an actual void bow in first person that fires tether and kills anybody with direct impact? Any thoughts?
Sounds cool. Give it to me.
You don't need it. It tracks now, right?
It's pretty great.
The other one?
It's pretty freaking great right now. They all track. It's really great.
They all track, right?
I still haven't opened up my hunter. It's being shunned right now.
See, I'm going to have to actually play some Warlock because I'm going to want to have more chances at the raid exotic every week.
Yeah,
you don't have to do the story on a secondary character, by the way. I discovered.
Thank God.
Oh, that's
I double-checked that. I was like, yeah. Because I don't like running through the story 3 times. I hate that so much.
No.
What level? What if you have a brand new character that's only at 1350? Is it 1350 you start off at?
Yeah.
What level's the raid at? Like if you transfer your weapons across?
1520 is the entry point, basically. So you just got to grind some like public events or strikes or something for a bit.
Okay. Yeah.
For the raid.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Open up some Xur.
Honestly, I think I'd just run the legendary raid again though to get them up. Because the
legendary
raid was not legendary raid, legendary campaign. Yeah, was actually more fun to me than running strikes for public.
Sure.
Yep.
It's a good point.
Cobalt says, so in the new Batman movie, he keeps calling himself Vengeance. Spoiler. What would your dark emo superhero vigilante name be?
Pain.
Pain.
Pain's great.
Can't top that.
Nope. Thomas Gabernowitz says, would it be better that when a major release happens to delay the season pass content for a few weeks? Seems like I'm running a lot of PsyOps and not Wellspring just because the seal is limited time only event.
Yeah.
I could see that. I'm definitely, I feel like I don't know what's going on in Destiny. You know, I'm like, I've got Wellspring, I've got the story thing, I got this over here, I got PsyOps, I got so many things to do that having like couple weeks to just focus on the brand new content. If it's as big as Witch Queen. If it's as big as Witch Queen, I could.
Good
I
point,
could see
Watts. If it's as big as Witch Queen.
If it's not, then I'm gonna need the seasonal content.
I think they could have left Season of Risen until like now, like the week after Raid came out, after World's First, and it would have felt fine. There was so much to do beforehand. It was like the campaign itself was massive, and not only the campaign, you still got all like the post campaign stuff. You had the 2 exotic quests, you had the worm launch, you had the Vox, and then you had the evidence board, which is all the not only like missions by themselves, but to weapon crafting. So there was plenty of content to save them until like now, where they could have put in Season of Risen. I sort of agree. It felt a bit. I have to go back and go, what happened in Season of Risen again? Like, what are we doing? Yeah, I reckon they could have left it a bit longer.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that I hear people saying that there's not enough content, maybe not for this specific expansion, but for a while I felt the opposite, just overwhelmed with choice. And it's hard to like, do I go after the seal? Do I have to go after gear? Do I help people through the raid? Do I do just, cosmetic stuff? Like, what do I focus on? And it's just difficult when there's so many things that are cool that you want to do.
Yeah. I'm a bit overwhelmed at the moment.
I'm overwhelmed because of Elden Ring.
Yeah, same. Speaking of which, Zay says, how do I make time for Destiny 2 when Elden Ring takes all my time? Seriously, is a high RPM weapon just better than low RPM? I would love to see a slow-firing, heavy-hitting SMG or hand cannon similar to the Ariana's Vow that's legendary. Maybe it won't be balanced, though.
Sounds like a question for the other parallel podcast.
The parallel podcast.
Right. I'm always up
They'll
for
tell you
interesting
some numbers.
Yeah, I'm always up for interesting archetypes that are new and all that. But
yeah,
it sounds like a sandbox nightmare for Bungie. They already have a tough time making things viable and balancing it.
Yeah, and I think also you start messing with the identity of like what is an SMG? An SMG is a close range, like fast firing weapon. So if you make it slow firing, does it then have more range?
It's just a scout rifle with no range.
Yeah, at what point does it then just change into a different weapon?
To an auto rifle or something?
Yeah.
I think the exceptions, of course, are the exotics, which is like why you see, the exotic machine gun that shoots slow and then fires a barrage of rockets, and they're the ones that break the archetype. I've never spoken about that before.
Yeah.
That's why exotics exist. They sit outside of archetypes, essentially.
Yeah.
Also, way easier for balancing if that's the case. Just changing one exotic over every single gun in that archetype.
Portal says, have you read Paul Tassie's lore about the ramp in the Cosmodrome?
I haven't read it. I saw the post.
About it. Yeah.
I don't know what it's about.
I saw the tweet where Paul was like, is Shahan now building a ramp up to the Lost Sector? I don't know what Shaw's doing. Okay.
Maybe
he was in the lore a little bit, right? A little bit?
I haven't read everything yet.
I'm
assuming what happened, they added a ramp there because people weren't able to jump up there or they're missing the Lost Sector or something. And then Paul Tassie's invented lore and how the ramp was built. Is that the joke? I think that's a joke.
I think so. Yeah.
Sounds all right.
We'll have to have him on soon so he can explain the lore of the ramp.
Yeah. Yep.
Rolk's other glaive says, did any of you get kicked by Rolk when trying to beat the raid? And if so, how much did you enjoy it?
I think I'm pretty sure he kicked me.
I think I saw the kick on Twitter before I experienced it. I don't think I've been kicked.
I definitely got kicked, but it wasn't with contest, so I was able to survive.
Yeah, right. Not just like
yeah, not one shot. Yeah.
Not ragdolled your body like KO straight away.
Bluegill85 says, longtime listener since the Planet Destiny days. Ooh. Can you think of additional ways Bungie can reach out to casual and or solo players? The Legendary campaign is a great start in that direction. Curious as to what your ideas are.
Yeah,
I think they've done a pretty good job this season because you've got legendary campaign, solo is well balanced. We've already have things like solo lost sectors, and I think the addition of the raid mission post raid is fantastic for solo players. You actually get to go into the raid and semi-experience at least the environment and see some of the set pieces as a solo player, which is fantastic. But what else could you do? Don't know.
Yeah, I agree with
I
all
need
that.
help with my vault, honestly. You know, it's been so neglected. And there are just not enough tools inside Destiny to help me figure out what is even in there at this point. It's packed full with stuff that I've completely forgotten about. I don't know what I should delete. I don't know when I got stuff. I don't know how old it is. I don't know what the power level is. Like, I don't know if it's current stuff. Like, it's a mess. And I wish there was tools inside of the game so I could just go in there and figure out, like, what is this stuff? What can I safely delete? What are there duplicates in here? You know, can I delete those? Can I compare two guns to see what these two duplicates, what the difference is? You know, like that kind of stuff would be so nice in game.
Yeah.
You can compare them, I think. There's usually
Yeah.
a button even in the vault to compare them. But you're right. Just overhanging fruit, it's not very obvious when stuff, whether it's sunset or not, or if the perks are good or anything like that.
Well, you know how you can go into the, I forget the area it's called, but like when you go into your menu and then you go over to, you want to print out some exotics, or if you want to look at armor or flare and stuff like that that's in there, they need to take that approach to the vault. So, because like, it's annoying to page through everything. I'm trying to get to heavies. So I got to page through and figure out where the heavies begin and like look through that. And it needs that type of treatment. But it also falls along the same lines as, you know, we need loadouts. And what does loadouts look like in the game when you have the vault? Does the vault really make sense being accessible in the tower versus like just being accessible anytime? You know, like the whole system where you have 9 things on each slot. Like that's a holdover from D1, and it hasn't really been revisited ever. Does that make sense still? With us having everything that goes to the postmaster, you can pull it from there and you can throw it in your vault or keep it on your character. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot that could be revisited to make it seem more, I don't know, modern for the modern Guardian.
Yeah. I see a magazine in our future, The Modern Guardian.
The Modern Guardian.
Briar wearing a cooking apron.
The Modern Guard.
Yeah. Want to do 2 more, Briar?
Sure. Angelo says, what is your call out for darkness and why is it not butthole? It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a good question. Unfortunately, it's just darkness.
Chocolate starfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we would have had some.
Day.
We would have had some funny combinations with Elmo loves butthole. I think that would have been a good one.
Elmo loves butthole. Oh my gosh.
All right, that's
Sabaton
it. Tomorrow
kills
we're
butthole.
changing it. It's now butthole. Darkness is
Sabaton.
butthole.
Thank you, Angelo.
Thank you.
Last question of the night. Coach Clean Plays says, question for Jay. Is it true that you are bald, and how do you handle being named Destiny's Sexiest Guardian alive? It's a good question.
Yeah.
You've broken it.
No,
How do you
I'm
handle
not
that?
bald.
It's a lot of pressure.
I'm not bald. This is a choice. It is not an affliction. There's like 7 hairs up there, and you know, use some extra sandpaper to make it look really realistic.
You've just got green hair. It's just a green screen. You just green screened your hair out, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a huge green afro.
Exactly what's going on.
He's not bald. He's got green hair.
Also, I don't like compliments, so I'm gonna abstain from answering the next question. Anytime somebody compliments me, I feel uncomfortable. It's not my
Same.
natural space. I'm like, no, don't do that. This is not how. This is not. Yeah.
Is that why you're a streamer?
Yeah. Right. I get enough shit. From
Nobody
chat. It makes me
compliments
feel,
your stream.
yeah, it just makes me feel super comfortable when everybody's giving me shit.
Bald.
Yeah. Somebody came in and just started chanting "Blad," so now it's a joke in chat. Blad, blad, blad. I'm like, oh, cool.
Misspelling bald, amazing.
Yeah. When people come in, they're like, "You're bald." I'm like, "That all you got?" Like, yeah.
Welcome to Twitch.
Right? Yeah. Great.
Is that that's it, right? That's the show?
I think that might be the episode. Mylan,
Episode
thank you for
280.
taking all of our hands down the lore lane where we can learn more about our universe.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. I know it was a long segment, but I hope you enjoyed it.
It's so interesting. It adds a whole nother layer of enjoyment to like when you go in the raid and you look at the worms again and you look at all of the museum parts. It really adds to the experience, I think.
Yep.
And you've got full on like lore breakdown videos that are out and also coming out for the stuff that we talked about today, right?
So Rolk's video's already out. Sabathun breaking the fourth wall is already out. And I'm now looking at those other little bits and pieces to cover. So yeah, most of it what you heard today is already in there. Apart from what it was that secret I told you, the light memories and darkness restoring. Yeah, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Well, so the light is like forgive and forget. Darkness is remember, but hold on to the anger and the maybe
remember who double crossed you, so it doesn't happen again.
It's all just fucking recycled Star Wars shit.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm taking a screenshot of everyone in chat right now, and if I see a video come out, I'm coming for you. Simple as that, all of you.
Right. He's got crocodiles. Be careful.
Yeah, I'm sending a crocodile in the
army
mail.
of emus.
He's got kangaroo lawyers and henchmen of the crocodile nature.
Undefeated army of emus will come at you.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely look for that if you guys are wanting to dig even deeper in the lore, and because it's some good stuff. Destiny's got some amazing lore. It's getting better, even better than where it's been.
Go get lored up.
Yeah,
Mylan Games.
Get your lore.
I have not cared as much about the story in the past Destiny, however many years until like the last year or two. I'm really like, wow.
Yeah, they've been knocking it out of the park, huh?
Yeah. Really cool. Jay, also thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. Thanks for raiding with us, putting up with our shenanigans.
A lot of fun.
And coming on and talking about you're going to be teaching people to raid and helping people through?
Yeah, to get the jacket, you got to get a clear before Tuesday. So tonight we're going to be doing full clears again. And then I'm thinking Friday and Monday, as much as I don't like doing it, just doing boss checkpoints just to try to get the triumph, because like it's a long raid to teach new people through, and I don't have a ton of time. So just doing what we can to help folks get that code. But yeah, I'm just generally speaking, what we can always try to teach. If people join up and they haven't done it, that's just like a non, like you don't have to say anything. Like it's not a forced thing to teach. Like I enjoy doing it. So
that's awesome, man. And what time? What's if someone was looking to hop in your stream so they could possibly get some help with that? What's the typical time?
If you live in Australia or the UK, it'd be like normal time. But in the US, I'm usually in the middle of the night. So I'll probably be going live in a little over 2 hours and probably going through till about 4:35 a.m.
Nice. That's
if you're an early bird and you live on the East Coast, sometimes you get to see him in the morning.
So 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday, typically. So
awesome.
Fun.
Very cool. All right. Well, that is episode number 280 of DCP. Thank you very much for hanging out, listening, chilling. Shout out to our Patreon members and our Twitch subs for keeping the shows going. You guys rock. And we'll see you next week for more stuff.
See you next week. Or if you want to tune in to watching us yell about Elmo puking on people, we're going to be doing that at 5 p.m. Pacific, Friday.
Fun times.
Catch any of our channels.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And Holtz is going to be there.
Is that standard or daylight?
Nothing's changed yet, Violet.
Yeah, it's standard. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.